Two wheels are better than four. From the mountains to the shore, find us rolling up to the pub. We're 17 Scooters Club. That also skipped. It went 5, 4, 3, and then we're recording. Well, anyways,
I'm telling
hello
you, ghosts
everybody.
Are taken over.
Welcome back to 17 Scooters Club. It is episode 29, and I don't know about you, Katie, but I feel like we need to start out with like some sort of making peace with the ghosts, and yes, maybe a little explanation of what happened last week.
Yeah, it was. I mean, from my point of view, because Liv, you do the tech things, but so Liv could dive into it. But Liv sent a video, and I know she posted it too. We had our audio and our video, and then like 15 minutes later, like random comments that we said would jump in, and then at one point it looked like we were just sitting here smiling quietly.
Yeah,
but we weren't.
So I don't know what happened. The only thing I could think of is A, ghosts, or B, because I was on there for a while before you guys were on there, and I hit record and I made a little like jingle. I was like, do, 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 and I'm like, no, I should just start again with them. So I stopped recording. And usually when that happens, that just tags on the beginning. Like, yeah. But basically, so a quick little rundown is we went to a place called Maddie's Tavern, and I vlogged it about a month ago for brunch, and I was just taking videos all around, and then there was only one video clip in the whole, like, since I've had my camera, that has glitched, and it was in that Maddie's Tavern. And so I put it at the end of the vlog and was like, is this ghost? ... question mark. And basically it was just like the video going from normal to like stopping, turning gray, and then like being pixelated and then going back to normal. And I'm like, that's a little odd because, you know, like paranormal usually like goes through the computers and everything. But we went back there on, it was last Wednesday, and we recorded last Wednesday, and we went there for breakfast, and I was talking to my boyfriend about that, and I stupidly said, bring it on, I'm actually excited, I want to see you. And no. I meant that, like, I want to see them while I'm there, but I wasn't specific. That night we recorded, and basically all of our beginnings were like, we were scattered around like random places. And the way that this recording works, as far as I know, I can't separate our recordings, reorganize them. Like, I couldn't have edited it into a listenable podcast, unfortunately. So we're haunted. Ghosts, spirits, I know I already did this, but if you're listening, please let our podcast be normal and listenable and entertaining. And Katie's frozen right now. Please, pretty please, with a cherry on top. I don't know what's going on. This is crazy pants.
You're back.
There you are. You're back.
You said
okay.
The way this
we were both
worked.
Oh no, I was talking too. So hopefully, because it records us separate, it'll just, you know, we'll see what happened.
I think you're talking.
But yeah,
to the
welcome back.
They're coming back for you. They're saying,
actually, I was just talking to them. Basically, please leave this podcast alone and us alone, and let us be safe while we appreciate you. We want separate lives, so thank you. And let's jump into 17 Scooters Club.
Yeah, go back.
Katie, you have me on the edge of my seat since the other day, and you texted us.
Oh my God. I've been talking to everybody about this, and I have a lot of skepticism and non-believers in my personal life. Half the people are saying no, but then the other half are saying, you know, this could be real, and there's actual scientific papers, and people are saying, well, it wasn't peer reviewed, and this is coming hot off the press from the Italians. Okay.
The Italians.
Yeah, so they have to be onto something. So before that, I'm going to tell you the title of this, and this did not come from me, and I'll tell you what title. means
By
at
the
the
way, we're
end.
missing Natalie right now.
Oh yeah,
We forgot to say it. It's just me and Katie. But okay, continue.
we got a lot to talk about.
Yeah,
Okay,
we do.
so I'm going to tell you the title, and then I'll tell you what the title means at the end, and where it came from. But the title of this one is called Pyramidiot, like pyramid and idiot put together. Um, I'm a pyramidiot, and you live. I'm guessing you will turn into a pyramidiot after hearing this. Okay,
Plausible.
so do you know, or have you heard, or like what do you know about the pyramid of, or the pyramids of Giza, like the Great Pyramid? Do you know anything about them?
I don't know much about them, but I have an idea of where you're going because I've seen posts of them going so much deeper.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
but I haven't I've just like looked at the post. I think I might have sent it to like somebody and then moved on.
Yes. So it goes way deep, and it goes into a couple different conspiracy theories, but the conspiracy theories are so wild, but they might actually be true. So, yes, this is about basically the
I mean,
pyramids of
I
Giza.
already believe it. I don't know what you're going to
Me
say, but
too.
I'm in.
So I'll tell you quick about the pyramidiot thing. There's a skeptic. He's a pyramid scientist from Egypt, and he says, no, 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 only pyramids are burial grounds, and tombs, and anyone who believes different is a pyramidiot. And so that's where I got that from.
I must be.
Okay, so basically, if you guys don't know, so the pyramids, there's multiple. I think there's four. Pyramids of Giza are very, very mysterious. They are basically the big pyramids in Egypt, and they were built over 4,500 years ago. And we always learned, and it's a common belief that they are tombs for Egypt's pharaohs. So, really important people, pharaohs or godly like people, are buried there. And that's what we were always told. I remember looking in textbooks at school, like that's what we learned. That's where the pharaohs were. So we're talking specifically about the three main pyramids of the pyramids of Giza. So there's three of them. There's Khufu, Khafre, and Menukrir, but we're talking about the second one, Khafre. And interesting fact about them, they are directly aligned with constellations, and this plays into some of the theories at the end. They are directly aligned with Orion's belt. So some people say, well, how else would they build them? Like, why else? They had nothing else to line them up with in the desert. So, of course, they looked for something to line them up with, and they picked the stars. But I don't know. Sometimes people think that they might be built that way for a different reason. So, based on what Liv was just saying, I mean, and we'll get there, some of the theories are that maybe they were built to align with the three Orion's belts stars, because somehow they were related to astronomy or energy or some type of extraterrestrial content. But beneath, this is one of the discoveries. So beneath the Giza plateau, so beneath where all those pyramids are, explorers found miles of undiscovered tunnels. So we didn't even get to those columns yet. There's deep below that, there's miles and miles and miles of tunnels going out everywhere that they didn't know existed. There's
This is
chambers,
just giving
tunnels.
like yeah, Middle Earth theory. Like
Yes.
people living underneath. I've done like a few topics that had related to that, and this is crazy that's just tagging onto it.
Yeah, and the original thought, before we even get into those, what those weird shafts are, they found all of these, and I'm going to talk about the technology, how they found it. But these were, nobody allegedly knew about these before. Hundreds of miles, or we don't know hundreds, but lots and lots of miles of tunnels down there, headed like going different places. And I guess they were saying that they were finding structures that look like it could be people living down there. Like it was a vast underground civilization, and that's one of the conspiracies. Like, did they use those shaft things to get down there to then connect the tunnel? Like, were people living down there? And then how does that have to do with the three, or the pyramids aligning with Orion's belt? Like, was there type of,
How do people get into the like? If me and you go to see the pyramids, can we get into them?
so I
Like,
watched a video on this.
yeah.
You, I don't think so. Maybe you can take tours, but in the video it said that it's widely known that it's really hard to gain access into them. And I'll tell you before I get into this, into the technology that they used. So that was my second question. Well, if it was really hard to get in and gain access, like, did no one go explore them before? Like, I'm
Yeah.
confused. I guess Egypt is very protective over the pyramids and doesn't let just anyone go. Like, they're very like, stay away. No, no, like, you can come to take a picture, but no studies here, which tips me off. Maybe they know something that we don't.
Mm-hmm.
So these private people, I forget their names, they basically used the scanning technology from space. It was privately funded, and they hovered over the pyramids of Giza, and they used the scanning technology. So they scanned from the sky and did ground like scanning basically, and it showed. And then they did a, what do they call it, a control. They scanned the pyramid first from the sky and like to see, and they're like, okay, cool, the scan of the pyramid, what you can see in it aligns with the different chambers and tunnels and stuff that we knew were in the pyramid. So they did like an overlay of like the pyramid and like a textbook looking diagram and the scan, and they're like, okay, look, yeah, like, this is pretty valid, it lines up. They did that back in like 2020, 2021, and everyone said, okay, cool, yeah, this is a cool technology. So then they did it again of like the ground and around it, and it came back with these crazy findings, and everyone's saying, oh no, no, it wasn't a real technology now,
You know,
because they're like,
rock girl Natalie would be really useful in this
i
conversation. We'll have to
I
bring it
know,
up
I
next
know.
week.
So basically, the pyramid of Khafre, just to finish up my background on it, it's the second largest pyramid of the Giza pyramids, and it was believed to be built in 2570 BC. It was built for, allegedly, Pharaoh Khafre, sorry. So unlike the Great Pyramid, Khafre's pyramid has a more straightforward internal structure. So it's literally what you would imagine. So in the pyramid, it has like a few chambers, it has like a king and a queen's burial chamber. So this new technology is called SAR, synthetic aperture radar. And researchers discovered, like Liv said, these deep shafts that were over 6,000 meters deep below the pyramids. 6,000 meters deep, that's 2,000 feet. That's bigger than the tallest building in Dubai. That's like 20, I think I looked it up. It's like 21 or 22 statues of liberty put on top of each other. It's huge, way taller than the Empire State Building. And these big shafts, there's 8 of them underneath the pyramids. They lead down to these massive underground basins of, allegedly, this part is alleged. I guess it's all alleged, but this part I've heard. This is the part that I'm most interested, actually, that it goes down to these basins that are bright glowing blue water. And allegedly, they found bodies floating in it that have bright blue eyes.
What?
So the water appears down there unnaturally clear, and they think it's because of the mineral properties, and that goes back to, remember, these are like giant basins at the bottom of these 2,000 feet shafts, and then with the pyramid on top. And they already thought that maybe the pyramid was there and I forget what it was made out of, but something with crystals and like some certain type of rock. And they're thinking maybe it was used for energy because it's again aligned with Orion's belt, so maybe that has something to do. But they found literally bodies floating, like preserved bodies floating in this beautiful mineral water 2,000 feet below. So here's how it gets, yeah, even stranger is that they're like perfect. That's what I can't wrap my mind around. They're perfectly preserved. Apparently their eyes were wide open, blue, and they haven't decayed, which is crazy because this was like
Maybe
BC times.
they're like alive in some meditative state.
Yes, like those
Hmm.
what's that,
Water
like
aliens.
water thing you
Yeah.
go in, water
Like
chamber?
the sensory deprivation tank. I think
Yes.
that's it. Yeah. Maybe we're just kind of getting a clue, like we're scratching the surface of like wellness things that they do or preservation things.
Yes.
That's crazy.
So I just had a thought. Sorry, I made my foot
Hmm.
bleed.
It's okay. Tate's crying. No crying, Tate. This is a
It's
podcast. We don't
poison
cry.
ivy related. Um,
Ooh.
anyway, so I just had a thought before I go on. It's all okay. So Up top, it's aligned with Orion's belt. Then under Orion's belt, the constellation, there's the pyramids. And then it goes down, 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 down into these chambers. And then there's these people who are floating around with eyes in like a sensory deprivation tank. I think it for sure is aliens related. All of that says aliens to
Oh
me.
yeah.
Our
So our
technology is this technology that this is why people are calling this into question. It wasn't the idea of whatever underneath the pyramid is so outlandish. People are saying that this technology, it's like new. So apparently this was done in it was developed in 2022, and actual scientists, like people who study, they're professors, they are, I forget what their degrees are in, but they're actual scientists, and they had a hunch that something was under the pyramid, so they really wanted to design this technology. And I believe they're Italian, and they sent this personal thing, like I said, up in the air, scanned the ground, and it's called synthetic aperture radar, SAR. And they did some tests and it seems right, but then they're like, listen, we found some stuff. And everyone's like, well, the technology wasn't peer reviewed. Like, yeah, you're a professor and yeah, you did research and yeah, you wrote it, but like now that you found some crazy things, like it wasn't actually peer reviewed. So that's the big holdup.
I gotta be honest, like we have x-rays. I would have thought that we already have this technology. I thought like you could just zoom and like put an x-ray over the ground and you know it's under there. I didn't realize that that didn't exist.
Yeah, and don't quote me on this, but I think it is sound waves that they're shooting down, and then they get a kind of like a dolphin, I guess. They get the dolphins are
making
everywhere.
their way in again.
So anyway, they found in early 2024, so this is new. They found these massive coil-like structures underneath specifically Khafre. They go down into the earth, the 2,000 feet down. The coils are connected to the underground tunnels we just talked about and to these giant chambers that seem to point that there might have been a thriving civilization down there. There's also talk, I don't have details on this, that somehow the Nile was somehow connected down there. There was there was a huge water source or aquifer, and someone was saying like, oh, it's the Nile, that somehow. So that would need a civilization down there would need some type of water source. So I thought that was really interesting. So
yeah, no.
These vertical shafts lead to like a subterranean, like a temple. There's like beautiful blue reservoirs down there, these crazy structures. And they were thinking that like it almost looks like it resembled an underground city because there were staircases and archways. And it's interesting because this relates back apparently, and I didn't research this because we got a lot going on here, but there was ancient texts and local legends that describe an extensive lost world under Giza, and everyone always thought that, oh, it's probably just an urban legend or some type of I don't know, like history of the people. But now they're saying, wait, this could be real. So I have a couple theories that I believe in / what people are like actually talking about. So number one is the lost underground civilization. So there is a vast network of tunnels, chambers, and structures that thousands of people may have once lived beneath the pyramid, which is crazy. A civilization that would predate the pyramids themselves. So in this theory, they think people lived down there and then built up, not pyramid first and then down.
Okay, so within this like this technology, can they say for sure that there aren't people down there? Sorry, no. Like,
He
can they
sounds like
say
a
for
bird.
sure? I know
It's
that
okay.
there aren't people down underneath. Like,
Well, here's the other thing. And this is like TikTok and YouTube, I was looking. Apparently, this doctor went down. Like and I'm going to send you all of this, but I was holding off to send it until after.
okay,
Apparently, he went down there and he looked at it and was exploring. But then like the skeptics, the opposite of the pyramidiots, the skeptics are saying, well,
the pyramid skeptics.
yeah, the pyramid skeptics are saying, well, that's not true because, how did he get down there if everyone else is not really supposed to be exploring there. So how did he get down? But he's an actual like doctor of science. Um, okay, so this is more so what I'm thinking. So that could be, especially because there's ancient text. So another one is the energy theory. So let me remind you, these big deep columns that go 2,000 feet in the ground, they're not just skinny, they're 100 feet wide. So like, let's see, like what, I don't know, what is 100 feet wide? A highway?
How many school buses? Well, school bus is like 40 feet. My house is 40 feet wide. Or length. My house is like 40 feet in length. So 2.5 of my houses.
So that's big. That's huge. Of
Yeah.
like, it's that wide and then something going straight down. Here, I looked up some examples. The wingspan of a Boeing 737, big airplane, that's 100 feet wide. A basketball court, a 6-lane road, a baseball infield, a large house, a yacht. Okay, so these are big. Okay, so anyway, they're 100 feet wide and they're going down. So one of the ideas is an energy theory. I guess this is number 2. So they're thinking that these massive coils that are inside these 100-foot wide shafts could be remnants of some type of ancient power system. And then this is the part that I like, possibly designed to harness energy from space because they're aligned with the constellations. There's some type of magic crystal water at the bottom, and crystals have energy powers, we know, not just like making you feel good energy, but like actual energy power, which could be a question for Nat.
Yeah.
And then they have coils that go up. And then I also watched something else that, and I can't recall any of the technical terms of it, but basically the pyramid was built out of some type of conducting stone. So I kind of
I've
like
seen
that one.
theories. Yeah, I mean, that makes a lot of sense. Like, since they line up so well, like, nothing's a coincidence in my books. So, like,
Mm-hmm.
that's not a coincidence that they line up. And I mean, coils, when I think of coil, I think of like a copper coil meant for like electricity. So, like, the fact
Yeah.
that it's coiled, I'm like, are they just like shooting lasers into the sky? Or opposite, are they shooting lasers from the sky into the earth? And like doing something like, is that keeping that crystal water, like keeping those people alive or beings alive in
Oh,
that crystal water?
maybe,
Crazy.
maybe the ancient civilization, and I still have more theories, maybe the ancient civilization somehow is connected to aliens, and the aliens and the ancient people lived side by side, or at least knew about each other. Maybe the aliens helped them build it down there, and the people floating in the water are like aliens back from that time, but something happened and all those people died. And
Hmm.
because they're in some type of preservation energy vortex down there, and the coils aligning with Orion's belt is keeping them alive.
Yeah, I could see Egyptians being like hybrids between like sapiens and
Mm-hmm.
aliens. Like, cuz they're always known for being like really big, like looking a little bit different, a little odd. Their cats literally look like aliens. So, um I don't know. I could definitely see them being like partial aliens.
I just looked up really quick, how can crystals generate power? Because
Hmm.
they said that there are, they found like these giant crystals in there also. That was part of it.
Yeah.
So crystals like quartz, they produce electricity when they're like squeezed or hit. This is apparently how quartz watches work. I didn't know that a quartz watch was a thing.
Mm.
If you heat them up, like tourmaline, I don't know what that is. It creates some type of small charge when it's heated or cooled, and it can use, it's like an infrared thing, or friction, but it's mainly quartz.
That's
So
interesting.
that's very interesting. Okay, next theory is, oh, speaking of crystals. So the crystal connection. So because they found the quartz crystals in there, and that's what we were just looking up, quartz crystals are the ones that have energy generating properties. So they're within the pyramid, and they were thinking that maybe their thought was to somehow amplify energy, kind of like a modern day conductor. They don't know specifically what they would be using it for. It's connected to bodies floating in water, energy, and then the pyramid. But that's like a strong, I guess, scientific thought, is that they were trying to use the quartz for some type of energy. I just don't know what. Um, some people think that the pyramids were constructed as a power station to communicate between, Earth and space. And this is the last one. So, the mystery of the blue water. And this is also quite interesting to me. So, the preserved bodies had bright blue eyes and bright blue water. And some people say that this suggests that the underground basins may have had some type of special property. Like we said, this could explain how the ancient Egyptians' mummies were so well preserved. So maybe this was some type of preservation water or something with the crystals. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Like it's
Um,
not their technique, it's like their otherworldly resources that are preserving
yes.
the mummies.
Yeah.
Like
Um,
suck it, seventh grade social studies.
I know,
Like
that's what I keep thinking of. And then the last thing I'll say, and then I'm curious what you think and which theory you kind of are pulled to. So the
yes.
guy who his title, he's an official Egyptianologist. He
Okay,
is
good
a
for him.
naysayer. His name is Dr. Zahi Hawass, and he calls these theories nonsense. He says he's like so insistent. He's all over YouTube, and he says no, there was no discoveries like this. It wasn't peer reviewed. We can't trust it. Unreliable sources. Um, and he's the one who coined the term. Uh, what was it? Pyramidologists? No,
The
pyramidiots.
pyramidiots.
Yes, he said whoever believes us is a pyramidiot. But there's no denying that the scans proved that these tunnels exist. They were tested, and just because they weren't peer reviewed yet, they're quite new. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, a lot of this reporting was in Italian because it's the Italians who are onto it. But this is breaking news, so I'm curious, what else we learn about it.
Right. I mean, I got a lot to wrap my head around. My first thought is that like the maybe like saying it's built by aliens, or because like it's kind of widely thought that humans couldn't have built the pyramids, you know?
Yeah.
So maybe the pyramids were built as like, oh, a flashy shiny thing. If the humans see the pyramids, they're going to think that's the main attraction,
Hmm.
and then once they go in, hopefully they're respectful enough. Once they see like the remains of our people, they're not going to go any further. Like maybe that the pyramids are meant to like stop whoever from this like the innards of it.
Yeah.
um and maybe there are still people living down there. I think for sure. Of course, like movies, they definitely have like a pull the lever type of deal.
Hmm.
Like somebody's inside, everyone go hide.
And maybe
So
maybe the Egyptians know about this, and that is why they're so protective of, we need to they're just resting places. They're just tombs. We know that they were raided a long time ago. Nothing here for anybody to see. Let's just be very respectful. Nobody goes in.
right.
Hmm.
That's what I believe. I believe that like it's just getting out to the public. There's got to be some sort of group of people who've known about this for a long time, and they're just like not telling us. Especially if people have explored the tombs before, there's got to be
Hmm.
some sort of door that leads you there, and like you've got to be like, oh, let's see how far down it goes. I think it's actually kind of silly that nobody has ever thought about where like what is under the tomb, like what is under the pyramid.
I
Because
just
I've
thought
thought
it
about
was
that. I'm like, what
sand.
about basements?
I thought
Yeah.
it was just
So
sand
I
with
don't
a
know.
brick sitting on it.
I want to watch many documentaries on this. I'm
I'll
very
send
curious.
you everything I have. I also think it's quite telling that they only, like, this is a recent discovery within the past 12 months, and I think that it's very interesting that they only were able to figure it out because some like private people funded it, and they were able to only get access because they could fly their space scanner thing above the pyramids and like scan it down. Otherwise, like if some rich person who had no interest in it just never did that, we would never know. So that like that's like such a
Yeah.
2025 thing to do.
No, it is. Like Elon Musk like privatizing everything.
Hmm.
I wonder, like, are you allowed to fly a drone over pyramids? Like,
Maybe,
I
maybe
guess
not.
clearly they did,
I
but
heard it was space though.
space.
I
Well,
can
that's
double
probably
check.
how. That makes a lot more sense because I could see them shooting down a drone that's above,
Yeah.
you know, like a certain amount, like the government and everything. But that's crazy. Like, I have so many questions that I can't even think of the questions.
Whoa. Okay. So real quick, do you know what a muon is? Nat would probably know this.
A what?
A muon, muon. I didn't know
No.
either until just 2 seconds ago. So this is real quick how it works. So they basically, this is so cool. It was done using a cosmic ray, and basically the ray is called a muon, and they shot it down from space, and it was a naturally created like cosmic ray, and it hits Earth's atmosphere, so it's up above the atmosphere, and it can pass through solid objects. So basically what they did was send it down, and if it passed through the solid objects, that would appear on the scan, but then where there wasn't
It
anything
would
solid.
create some sort of map.
Yes, that's what they did. So they scanned the pyramids with the muon rays, and then they were able to map the empty spaces. But yes, it was from space.
Wow. Okay, so speaking of, this is actually transitioning really well into my topic. If you have anything else on yours right now?
No.
Okay, so basically, this is something that you cannot see. This is like probably a ray that cannot be seen by the naked eyes that is picking up on actual science, right? So, something like Wi Fi or calling people or text messages or like echolocation, things that we cannot see but is said to be real and proven to be real, accepted by scientists and everything. So my question is, everyone's question is, this is actually also a super recent topic as well, is if we can accept things like text messages and rays and Momo, whatever, Doofenshmirtz, whatever thing, why can't we accept that telepathy might be real? And that's
The
just
dolphins
simply
know.
communicating. The dolphins do know. I mean, I'm going to start it out with this. There are so many studies out there that have to do with animals and telepathy and animals and humans versus telepathy and even plants giving off like brain some sort of
Mm-hmm.
signal. So I had a crazy ex roommate. She basically, I put her on my lease because Natalie moved out. It's all Natalie's fault. It's always Natalie's fault. I I got a 2 bedroom apartment because Natalie wanted to move in with me during COVID. And so I got an apartment that I couldn't necessarily afford alone at the time. And Natalie lived with me, and then she lived with me for like a year and then decided she was going to move out and go somewhere else. And I'm like, okay, cool. Now I can either move or get a roommate. So I posted on Craigslist. I found this like sweet girl with a cute dog that got along with my dog. When we lived together, it was good. Like we were both really shy. She took my dog to the park. I took her dog to daycare. It was great. And but when she was moving, like when I got to a point with my boyfriend of like 2 years at the point that we decided we wanted to move in together, we were like, well, my apartment's really cheap for 2 people. It's in a great location. It's really pretty big. It's dog friendly. There's not all places around us that are dog friendly. And she was basically subleasing from me. And I wrote a lease that said, like, I protected myself in the lease, saying, like, I can kind of end it whenever I want to. When either party wants to end it, we'll get out of it. So I like approached it too nicely. I was just like, "Hey, my boyfriend and I have been looking for apartments. Like, we'll probably be moving out soon. Not sure if you want to keep the apartment or not." And then I approached him like, "Well, actually, like, we want to keep this place. Like, sorry for um like saying that we might be moving out." This was after I received information from my property manager that she is not um approved for the place without me physically being there. So
Mm.
like if I moved out, she would have been kicked out as well. I didn't tell her that. I was just like, hey, actually, we're gonna keep the place. Sorry. And I gave her like 3 or 4 months to move out, and I guess she thought she was like fucking me over by moving out like immediately after, like, and throwing a fit. And I'm like, oh wait, no, I was just kind of like nice about you, um, like being trying to approach you and be like, hey, like, oh, maybe this roommate, like, if you want to move there, whatever. And then when I approached her, long story short, I asked her to move out and she said no.
Mm.
And I was like, well, sorry, but here's all the paperwork I had you sign before moving in. You got to move out, and I'll give you like a month and a half, like not even just the end of the like 30 days. You have like 60 days almost. And she just threw a fit. And then the next day I went to work and I had an like idea that she was crazy. So I took Tate, my dog, and left him at my boyfriend's parents' house. And then I got back and all of my lights were turned on. Every single switch in the house was turned on. The TVs were on. All the doors were open. So thank God that my dog. Actually, I think I might have put my cat over there too. This was pre Winston. Like windows were open. The heater was on. All of my gas was on, but it wasn't lit. So she turned the gas on the stove. Didn't light the stove. So this was a really long way of saying I kicked my ex roommate out. I got security cameras and
Yeah.
I put them up. So then I would continue while I'm at work, like past a crazy ex roommate. We settled in. Every time I clocked out of work, I would get a notification in my living room that Tate has left and gone to sit in the living room for me to come, like, to greet me. And this would be normal if I was on like a regular clock. Like I worked a 9 to 5. He knows at 5:15 he's going to sit by the door for me to be there. But on I don't even have the same weekly schedule. My schedule's different every single day. And I always thought it was weird. That cued me on. I'm like, how there's got to be some sort of connection between us two. How does he know when I am clocking out? Because it would be before, like, he could hear my car. It would be before, like, I'd be miles away and I'd be getting a notification on my phone that there was motion in the living room.
Mm-hmm.
And some researchers say that there is a what's it called? Hmm. Basically, they say that this is telepathy. So there is a signal sent to your dog when you think I'm going home now, and you guys have this bond where they're like, she's coming home now. I'm going to go sit by the door. And it's just crazy because he would spend the entire day on my bed when I wasn't home until those like 10, 15 minutes before I got home. So that's just freaking wild.
Mm-hmm. I could totally see that, especially with animals that you have a connection with. Like Tony is, I work from home, so I'm with him basically 24/7, like to the point where sometimes if he knows he's doing something bad, or I don't know, he's just acting however, like I can just look at him and like a certain way and he knows. So I
Mhm.
think that for sure the bond that you have with your animal. I've also seen, for those of you who don't know, we're new horse girls over here.
Mhm.
I saw a couple of videos like this where this girl had was riding her horse and she fell off and she ended up falling like forward in front of the horse while it was running, and the horse literally like did some crazy footwork and stopped and fell over and basically did
Aw.
it so it didn't trample her, like put its own life at risk so it didn't like fall on her, like it knew, like, oh
Yeah.
shoot, like I'm gonna hurt her. So I
Mhm.
think for sure there's some type of telepathy there.
I think so. Now that's as far as I'm going into like the animal telepathy.
Mm-hmm.
However, there are studies out there. It's all like scientific research about it. Speaking of, my dog really wants me. Tate, go outside. Be quiet. Go
I
on
think I know what you're
outside.
gonna say.
Well, because I've been begging the family and you to go look into it, and I'm not. I'm curious if you have yet. Basically, they're the telepathy tapes, and it's autistic kids are said to have telepathic abilities. And this dates back so far, and But hold on, to break it down, it begins with someone very close to the autistic individual, such as a parent or a teacher, noticing weird things. For example, a parent hid Halloween candy, and the moment they thought of where they hid the candy, their kid ran out of their room into that exact spot to the candy. Um, a series of tests are done. Basically, so this is a podcast series. A series of tests are done with multiple different individuals, different families, such as the mom using a random number generator from across the room, looking at the number, like not 7, but like 8,017 368. I didn't pronounce that number right, but it's a
Mm-hmm.
6 7 digit number, not just like 1 through 10. And the kid gets it right every single time. They blindfolded a kid at one point, like tested the blindfold, did it extra blindfold. The kid could not see for sure. Gave
Mm-hmm.
them colored popsicle sticks and told them to sort it within colors, and they sorted it. Like, and the way that the kids explain it is that they can see out of their bodies. Like, for, do you know how, this is kind of why I wanted your um what's it called, your thoughts on this, because you
Yeah.
were in special education. However, I do know that you got stuck with the New York City ghetto kids and not necessarily as much as the disabled. But anyways, they speak as being able to see everything at all times. Kind of more how that's kind of what people say the afterworld is like. Um like ghosts can see everything and they seem to be more in tuned, like they see spirits. Um they have this thing called the hill, and they it's called that because it's a hill of thoughts, like a lot of thoughts,
Mm-hmm.
where they all talk to each other from across the world. So most of the time they'll go into bed, they'll put blankets over them because it like blocks out all the other thoughts, and
Mm-hmm.
they'll be able to talk to everyone in their mind. So they call us the disabled, because which is kind of seemingly valid, because they're able to speak telepathically between like everyone, and everyone thinks they're dumb, but they're like so much smarter than us. And
Mm-hmm.
they go into like legitimate studies about the animals. So why is it so far-fetched, especially when things like wi-fi text calls are so widely accepted, and we can't even think about the like telepathy. Basically they said that anyone is capable of it if like you actually let them in. But
That
yeah,
sounds
that was my overview of it.
that's so interesting. That sounds like you said anyone's capable of it. Sounds very CIA um
Mm-hmm.
type thing, but I could totally see that. My first thought was I have a few thoughts, but my first one was, you know how people with autism sometimes are
Come here.
savants. Have you ever heard that word before?
Yes, so that
Where
seemed to be as a form of. I need to go grab the freaking dogs.
okay,
Sorry.
it's
Tate!
okay.
Hey! Don't you dare! Well,
What the heck was happening?
so I have neighbors that border like our fence. We have a fence in between, and they have a farm, so they have
Mm-hmm.
farm dogs. And our dogs like to go and just like bark at them and screech at them through the fence. So that's what they were doing. So sorry about that.
That's okay. We
So
could
they
we can pick back
mentioned.
up at savant. So that was my
Yeah.
first thought. Like really, really like intelligent individuals who normally have autism, and they like are you can say like what day of the week does May 26th of 2046 fall on it, and they just know. So that was my first thought is like something of that sort. I think it's interesting that you said like the third person, because I did work with students with autism when I was out of the ghetto city in my better
Hmm.
job. And I think it was interesting. This is all connecting. Um, they have like sensory processing disorders sometimes. Like they get way too overly like the rain that I'm listening to right now sometimes would be too loud, or like they I don't know, they can just like feel every thought. So I think it was interesting that you said like maybe like the weighted blankets. Like
Hmm.
sometimes like the nonverbal kids, sometimes they just need like a hug or like a squeeze to just kind of get grounded again. So
Yeah.
I wonder if
They
that
spoke about this. So with they called it spelling. it's
Mm-hmm.
like not allowed. They hate it. Like the people in the podcast and the autism community seem to really like it, but it seems
Mm-hmm.
like schools and the like greater foundations thought that even if like it's a mute autistic kid that's spelling
Mm-hmm.
things, that they don't accept that as like communication.
Mm-hmm.
But they were saying the autistic kids say like consecutively that anyone who's autistic and does not speak like is telepathic for sure. And
Mm-hmm.
then if like sort of speakers are like kind of telepathic if they believe in it. And then what was it? So that's the like some people were saying it was a savant skill, and then when
Mm-hmm.
they asked the kid about it, they're like, "Well, yeah, but it's a savant skill that we all have." Like,
Yeah. I mean, when you think about it, autism is for the most part like a social disability, whereas like cognitively they are, for the most part cognitively they're on par with like neurotypicals, as people would say.
mm,
But they have like socialization issues, or some people could be nonverbal, like you said, who they can't communicate, but mentally they're probably they're smarter than most smarter than a lot of people, so they got a lot of thoughts going on up there, and they like have to find another way to communicate. It wouldn't surprise me, like, you know how like people say if you're blind then your other skills, your other senses kind of get heightened. So if they have so much to say and so much to think, but they literally can't get it out, or they have something else going on preventing them from being social and communicating in a typical way, then it wouldn't surprise me that they somehow figured out, like our, or the brain, maybe it's a physiological thing, I don't know, that our brains find a workaround.
mm-hmm. Well,
I'm sure
I think of it as so like sort of like what we're talking about. I think that they are more like evolved than us. Like
Mhm.
they even speak about it. They're like, well, why would I have to like take my thought, which is like images sometimes, and then
Mhm.
form it into words that constricts the idea and then convey those words when I could just share an image and that's just so much more pure and clear. And I'm
It's
like,
so,
that's
I'm going to
crazy.
pause you real quick. It's so funny
Mm-hmm.
that you just said this, because I had the same exact thought that you just said at work
Hmm.
today. I was trying to explain something and I was just like, had my fingers on the keyboard and I went, and I was like, there's just so much I have to say and I know it all in my head and I can picture it, but I just can't get it out. So like it was frustrating. So I'm sure maybe they feel like that all the time.
Yeah. Well, and basically what they were saying is if all of them were seemed very kind of like hippie and positive,
Mm-hmm.
like they are aliens or they're like this greater like god thing. All of them believe in god, all of them say demons and angels are real, all of them. And there's like so you should really listen to it. It was really interesting. I definitely recommend all of
Yeah.
you to listen to it. I think it like gives us woo woo people like some grounded basis. What was I talking about? See, this is why I just like if I could just put my brain into the podcast without speaking it. Um, Basically, they were saying that this is the future, and like if you're open and you have good intention and you believe in it, you could communicate telepathically. So maybe when I was like practicing my podcast today, I just like
Mm-hmm.
that little like jump just communicated to you. Yeah.
Yeah, I think another good point is that they have oftentimes like a heightened recognition of like behavior. Like they like routines and patterns and whatnot, and they will pick up if something is like if I had moved a poster on my wall or moved my desk around, there was no like we had to talk about that first. Like they would immediately notice before we could get into whatever. So
Mm.
maybe that like they're so good at recognizing things, and like you said, like why like non-verbally, like they have it in their head, and like you said, oftentimes they will think in like pictures because they think in a different way. So yeah, I for sure think there's some telepathy. And I also thought where I thought you were going with this was, and I don't know the name of it, there's a new thing or a hypothetical thing or something that I've heard of where they're essentially saying like, why really what we're saying, why should we waste our time talking when we could communicate through telepathy? And it's like something that they're experimenting. I don't know if they put it in your brain or on your head or something. And then if you're wearing it, then you just send thoughts to the other person.
Right. And so there are two things about this. What reminded me of this is that they were sure to say that you have to be open to let them in. Like they can knock on your door, but you have to open the door to let them in.
Like the
So that's
ghost.
kind of like this. Yeah, like that. Um Conspiracy theory, this is
Mm-hmm.
Elon Musk creating this. Elon Musk is known to be autistic.
Mm-hmm.
So what if he's just so frustrated? Like he could be on the hill. He could communicate with other autistics or other people like without verbal, like with telepathy. What if Elon Musk is like, well, this is the part of the future. I'm just going to let everyone else in. But that seems sort of harmful because, you're supposed to be like of pure of heart and like good intention to be able to have this technology. But if everyone can have this technology, that seems like beating the system. And something else that I heard, do you remember my egg episode, like the alien egg,
Yep.
and how there was like
Yes.
this greater like plan that was like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, like America and the world in general is going downhill in a bad way. Like you guys have to be of pure intention to like fix it up. Like a lot of the thing that this alien was allegedly saying, this being, kind
Mm-hmm.
of aligned with like the autistic community. And I'm like, there has to be some sort of like greater like thing going on here, and they're like just placing different communities of people to like bring this thing together. So yeah.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that you brought up the Elon Musk being autistic, because I know that he had publicly stated at some point that he has autism or feels that he has autism, and that was one of my first thoughts, is that he how is he connected to this? I also, sorry, it's thundering, so I had to close my window.
Oh,
Um
that's okay.
yeah. There was also a thought, sorry, I'm always bringing it back to dolphins, but
Mm-mm.
I believe, let me just look it up real quick. I just saw something where well, number one, we'll revisit this at the top of next episode, but the dolphins can talk, and we know this now. Um, but we know that, how there's sometimes service animals. I was just watching something where dolphins were not a service animal, but almost like a therapy animal for some kids who had autism. And I don't know, I think that there's a connection there, because
I for sure think there's a connection there. Like echolocation, they're already like all these water animals, water aliens, they're all communicating without words. So,
yes.
like, we're just putting our evolved civilization with them. Like a dolphin isn't born and then seen as being disabled because it can't physically speak. Like that's
Mm-hmm.
crazy. Like ours are just more evolved. What if we're becoming water aliens?
I mean, we just
Like
found the water aliens under the pyramids, so
exactly.
yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's interesting, because I think from what I remember, what I just watched was, or what I, yeah, I guess I watched it, that, like you said, people with autism sometimes are nonverbal, but they still have the same ideas, if not better ideas than we do, but they just can't verbally get it out. And we were just watching this thing on dolphins, and the same thing where dolphins don't essentially provide like a social pressure, like, oh, you can't talk, I can't communicate with you. Dolphins are like, we we're going to talk telepathically, we'll figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
Figure it out. But yeah, that is interesting. It's a podcast, you said, the telepathy
The
tapes.
telepathy tapes. Yeah, there's 10 episodes and they're creating a second season now.
You know what this made me think of? The very top of what you're saying before you even got into it, when the idea of manifesting. And I know there's 100 different ways you can manifest. You can manifest by writing things down, you can manifest by like speaking it out. But one of the like first experiences, or like the first time I heard about manifesting, what this lady had explained to me, she was like, basically, if you're manifesting, and she used a person, she's like, let's say you're single and you have this person that you like, or whoever, and you want them to ask you out, but oh my gosh, there was lightning. um she's like, you can use this for anything. Let's say there's a plant that you want at the store. She's like, sit down in a very quiet place. She's like, no music, no TV, no nothing. Just sit very nice and quiet and make sure you're calm. And then close your eyes. She's like, you're not saying anything. Close your eyes. And she was like, her example was like the boyfriend. She wanted a boyfriend. She's like, just think, like, pretend that person is next to you. Be very still. Be mindful of your breathing. Visualize that person. Pretend they're right next to you. What are they wearing? What do they smell like? What do they look like? What's their hair look like today? Are they wearing glasses? How are they sitting? Like, what's their face looking back at you? And basically, like, in my mind, that's telepathy. Like, you're literally envisioning that
You're
person
calling the
and you're
person.
calling them. And then she was like, 10 out of 10, that person's going to come. Like, I bet you that person's going to come to you. And then I think you're calling to
Wow.
them.
Yeah, I think you are too. They even, because they said that on this hill that they spoke about, there are people from like Chicago and then a guy in California, and they were best friends and they've never met each other. But then they knew things about each other that there's no way that they'd ever be able to know.
I
Um,
don't doubt it.
I don't doubt it. Um, but this all goes back to them being outside of the body, like being able to see everything in the
Mhm.
room, if not further. Um, or see through the parents' eyes is also what they were kind of saying. Like, um, they have to be reminded that they're in their bodies. Like, I guess there are a bunch of them that said like they didn't know they had a body, and so like
Yeah.
when they're touched, they're like, oh, I have like a human body. What do I do with this? Like,
Mm-hmm.
because in their mind, they just live in their mind and in the like the room that they're in. So that's
I
kind of
think our
crazy.
minds are so much more powerful. And I think this goes back to one of our first episodes, or one that was, I don't know, a few weeks ago, about all those like declassified CIA things about like the mind and the pain thing, the 55515. Like, if you're in pain,
Mm.
like you're just supposed to like be quiet and like think of your pain and think of 55, literally visualize 55515, and it'll automatically stop. Like some type of, I don't know what kind of telepathy that is, but um
Recoding.
yeah, I don't know. That's crazy though. I really don't doubt it.
No, and then they did mention also it's something about like there's part of your mind, there's part of your soul, and then there's something different. And that's just like so much information and just abilities like the dolphins and whales have that we just don't have, or we do have, but most of us just can't tap into it.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree.
So how's Justin Bieber?
Okay, so it's a lot to get into, but um have you
I can save it.
okay, so I follow him on social media after our discussion last week, and
Yes.
it's a long one to get into. I don't know if we're going to get into today, but we can if you want. But he's going crazy on his story, and people can't figure out if it's a response to all the Selena Gomez stuff or if it's like further that he needs a conservatorship. Because I sent you guys a video today, but then on he posted the other day, like, people are saying that you could clearly see the things that Haley like posts for him or makes him post versus the thing that he posts. Like today that was a him thing. That was his premiere. It was like some very unhinged singing and he looked like unwell. But then Haley posted, I'm sure Haley posted it for him. She was driving and looking all cute, like she's wearing a cute jacket and her sunglasses, and like picked out some like song basically saying I love you, like from Justin's point of view. So I don't know. I think there's a lot going on there.
He literally just posted this on his story.
Yeah, like
That
Haley's
doesn't make
like,
sense.
what? I think
It's
he's
kind of
losing it, and
like,
Haley for sure hires a double to be like, okay, like act normal in public.
yeah, like let's do a maternity shoot real quick. I don't
Yeah.
know. He either takes absolutely nothing seriously, but like that's a hard act to be in 100% of the time. Like especially if people are just like taking videos of him when he doesn't know. Like that's a hard act to like put on all the time
Mhm.
and like not slip up and act normal for a little bit.
Did you watch the
So,
7-part thing that I sent?
no.
You
I
have
should have
to.
watched it.
You,
Okay.
maybe
Is it
if
on
we
TikTok?
yes, I think I sent you one of them. I sent you a bunch of things today, so you have to scroll back. But I think I
Okay.
sent you like part 1, and then you have to watch part 1 and then click on that user and watch the rest. And maybe we can start next week's episode because things keep unfolding with it.
Yeah. Well, I guess this is a precursor for next week. We'll definitely speak on this and
Yeah.
see what comes of it. It's just weird how everything connects, you know, like telepathy, the dolphins, like the aliens. There's all
Mm-hmm.
there's something else out there that we don't know.
Yeah, for sure. And we're discovering it with all of our 2025 technology.
Yep. Our x-rays for the ground. Wowza.
Yeah. Let us know what you guys think. And if you hear this and you have any more information on these cool pyramids or any conspiracy theories or ideas, because I know it's a hot topic, let us know. I was just talking to my friend group about it actually, and one is a scientist, and he was like, "It wasn't peer reviewed, so I don't know." But he was the one who also said the Nile somehow connects to it, and then my other friends were like, "Oh my gosh, we have a friend who lived in Egypt, so we're like, we have to ask her."
Oh my god, there are so many. I'm like already sucked into my TikTok with how many I have from Katie right now, but
Well,
I'm
yeah.
excited. I'm excited for the future entertainment. Thank you guys for sitting in with our topics. Let us know exactly let us know what you think, like Katie said.
Mhm.
Um and yeah, we'll talk to you next week about some things. Thanks for staying with us and not thinking that we're too woo woo and all that fun stuff. So yeah, we're 17 Scooters Club. Find us on Instagram at 17 Scooters Club, on the TikTok at 17 Scooters Club and all that fun stuff. You could text us, you could DM us, or
Mhm.
um, send an email at 17scootersclub at gmail.com. And yeah, we will get back to you. And we're very curious about your thoughts and all of this fun stuff. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Two wheels are better than four. From the mountains to the shore, find us rolling up to the pub. We're 17 Scooters Club.